The heart of any institution of higher learning is its library. A wealth of important books and a modern atmosphere make the library at Mount Royal a favorite retreat for serious study.
This may be their first stop as soon as they step on campus is the library, figuring out how to get a card, where to go, where's my class, how do I set up my printing account, and then we get to see them through all their classes to graduation.
We look at one of the first great libraries, Alexandria in Egypt, and people came, scholars, Greek and Roman, and they would talk about things. Discuss ideas, and that was pretty much the nature of the first university, even though it was the library to begin with.
Working in the library is connection, is reaching out, is listening to people.
Regardless of how big the walls are that surround the physical entity of the library, those walls are porous. The library exists on every student's iPhone. The library exists in the archives. The library exists in the small collection of books that haven't been returned that are in a professor's office. The library is everywhere. The library space on the Lincoln Park campus opened in 1973. It was a concrete manifestation, literally, there was a lot of concrete, of the learning library model of education. And this model set to put the student at the center of education, to make faculty more facilitators than instructors, and to surround the students, to immerse them even, in an information-rich environment.
Two of my classmates spent the summers working at Mount Royal. They had been technicians there before they went to library school, and Mount Royal was paying more per hour than anybody else in the province. And it was very kind of laid back and, you know, just everyone said, oh, this is the place to work.
Distributed around the Learning Library are the newly designed resource islands, which serve to decentralize library and media services. There are 4 resource islands currently operating in the Learning Library. 2 more are located outside of this area near their respective departments.
Well, the resource islands were one-stop shopping for the students, right? It was, if I'm a student in psychology, I go to the psychology resource island. I have my prof's office is probably behind the island. The video that we watched in class or the movie that we watched in class is available at the island, the readings, maybe a copy of old exams.
The main motive of the resource island concept is to simultaneously attract and reach out to the student, to offer maximum access to learning, and to serve as a catalyst, bringing student, instructor, and the channels of learning together.
The resource island, people like it. It's like a mini library. We knew all of the professors, they knew the people, the staff that work there.
These open offices have no doors or ceilings since they are simply composed of movable partitions and office furniture, thus following the college policy of fostering maximum accessibility and interaction between students and staff.
Well, I think it happened more than once, but one faculty member, and I'll pretend he's nameless, came in one morning to find his entire office was upside down. I mean, literally upside down. The desk was upside down, the tables were upside down, everything was upside down. When the nursing students had films to watch, you know, they would come down to the library, and of course we were using back projection screens, portable back projection screens, so that a group could sit around, maybe 7 or 8 people with headphones all attached and watching these films. And some of them were pretty graphic. We got quite a few complaints saying you can't do this in an open area, but it was legitimately instructional materials.
They didn't want to let it go, but it has to go. So it was very controversial. Some professors, we have to encourage them to come to this main library. They said no. Some people, they say, oh, why did we read of what was so good?
In its earliest days, Mount Royal was a downtown institution in a big red barn of a building until we moved to the Lincoln Park campus. And in 1990, about the time that I started, there was a purchase of a building or rental of a building downtown to return us to the city centre.
It just sort of appeared and they said, you know, we need a library. And they showed me the space where they thought the library should go. And I drew a sketch of the layout. That's how we created it.
I'm pretty sure that there was fewer people that worked full-time at the city centre campus in every department than work just in the library here at the main campus. So we really worked very closely with all of those departments and had a real family atmosphere there.
Then we got the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers wanted us to have their collections. So I went out bringing these collections in that made sense in that kind of business-oriented setting.
I guess when the Cont Ed building was constructed here on campus, there was no longer, that activity downtown was largely eliminated, and so there was no reason to keep a satellite library down there.
The first event that I attended in August of 1990 was the ceremonial dumping of the last catalogue card.
We had the card catalogue, and there were a lot of staff who were terrified at the idea of no longer having the card catalogue. And there were people saying, well, you can't throw all those cards away, we have to keep them for scrap.
I think we finished off using the old catalogue cards as scrap paper about 5 years ago. We finally finished using them because we were into reduce, reuse, recycle even then.
Technology through the computer and internet changed the way people communicated, worked, learned, traded, and transmitted information. These effects were global in scale.
The technology has expanded everything. When I went to school and when I started here, what I know now is more than when I started, because the technology continued to expand, especially with the databases.
But I do remember when we had the multi-lease. It was a server. It was a French-Canadian company out of Montreal. And the really exciting thing was that was one of the first things I learned, the language to create reports. The programming language was in French. Not too much to learn, just a few commands, but yeah.
And so the early days of teaching with the computers were really interesting. We had a rule that if you were teaching in a computer lab, 2 librarians went, because there were that many things that could go wrong that you might need backup. And because we're out west and government sites are in Ottawa, that they would do a major revamp of the government site at a time when I was teaching. They thought they were safe because it was after hours in Ottawa. And so a couple of times it would happen that I'd take a class into a government site and we click through, and then when we came back, it looked entirely different. And I said, books never did that. Books never changed while I was holding them and showing students how to use them. They never ever changed. Almost since I started at Mount Royal, we've been talking about becoming a university someday. As part of that, we really recognized that we needed a larger library space and a richer library collection. We had the AUCC accreditors on campus. They were impressed by the teaching role that our librarians had, less impressed by what they perceived as a very, very small collection. We held a barbecue community event and I was setting up a library table. We were inviting the neighbors in to come see Mount Royal from the local condos. And our president at the time, Dave Marshall, came bounding up. And if you remember him, he had that kind of energy. He bounded up. Guess what, he said. The province says our library is woefully inadequate.
At the same time, there was strong support from the faculty, very strong recognition from the administration on down, from the president and the senior administration, that we really needed a new library. If we were going to be a self-respecting university, we really needed to step it up because we just weren't anywhere close at that point.
It's been a long, a long process. We've been working on this as a library and as a university for more than 10 years now, so we're really excited to see it finish, see it open. I think our interaction with information or historically within libraries has been a lot more passive, and now we see a much more active kind of environment where we want students to engage with each other, we want them to engage with the information around them in all its forms, whether it's digital or data or visual or textual, what have you. I'm so excited to see how it's being used already. As the filming of this, we're not even open yet, but, or officially the fall term hasn't started. But what I'm really excited about seeing is the way students will use this space that we can't even imagine right now, or the ways that faculty will engage with this space to transform their teaching and their research, and what that will mean over the course of the next 5 or 10 years. So we had ideas, we had a vision for this facility. We worked as a library and as a university to see it to fruition, and now I kind of feel like let's watch what happens with it when people start to animate it and take ownership and really move in and make it their own. That's when it gets really exciting, and how we continue to support that as a library. It's nothing but opportunity.